Not every open-world game can be Red Dead Redemption 2, and that's perfectly fine. Some titles stay out of the spotlight but still deliver rich worlds, addictive combat, and stories that truly surprise. These are games that don't promise to reinvent the genre, but they know exactly what they want to be. Some go all in on action, others on atmosphere, but all of them have plenty of personality, and they end up being way better than they seem. So here are 23 underrated open worlds, whilst that deserve a shot. I'm Jax, and if you're new around here, welcome to Play Hunters. If you can subscribe to help the channel grow, I'd really appreciate it from one gamer to another. And before we dive in, tell me in the comments, what's your favorite open world game? That one that kept you exploring for hours and you never forgot? Let's get started. Mad Max begins in the middle of nowhere, sand in your face, engine roaring, and the feeling that anything could explode in seconds. The world's already ended, but there's still rage, conflict, and a search for meaning in all the dust. The game doesn't waste time explaining. You're dropped straight into survival. Abandoned outposts, insane gangs, and lawless lands set the scene. But beneath the chaos lies a deep loneliness, a void no amount of pure gasoline can fill. Gameplay focuses on brutal combat and savage driving. Fistfights are raw and violent, each punch landing with force. Vehicle battles turn the desert into a war zone with chases, traps, and fiery explosions. You customize everything: your car, your weapons, your approach. There's freedom to explore every corner and chart your own course through the apocalypse, and there's always something waiting just around the bend. The map is a living desert. Red mountains, sandstorms, buried ruins, every part tells a story, even when no one's left to tell it. The aesthetic is dirty, dry, and still stunning. Wind carries remnants of forgotten civilizations, and the silence is heavy. Even during chaos, the world commands respect. It's a place that screams, but also knows when to whisper. It's one of those games forgotten too fast. Despite doing almost everything right, it understands what it means to survive in a hopeless world, and even though it promises only gasoline and violence, it delivers much more than expected. Days Gone starts with the idea of moving on, but the weight of the past follows every mile. The world has collapsed, leaving behind creatures far worse than human and a constant sense of grief. The story is filled with loss, reunions, and the struggle to stay sane in a place where no one's safe. Over time, you learn survival isn't enough. You need a reason to keep going. Gameplay revolves around freedom. You ride your bike across forests, abandoned towns, open fields, always with danger just one mistake away. Combat is intense, especially when facing massive hordes. Managing supplies is essential because nothing comes easy. The bike isn't just transport, it's part of you. It needs fuel, repairs, upgrades, and it's always by your side. The world is packed with detail. There's beauty in the landscapes, even with so much destruction. Day and night cycles change enemy behavior, and rain can turn a simple trip into a nightmare. The roads are dangerous, but full of discovery. Abandoned camps, stories hidden in notes, secrets buried in caves. Every location feels lived in, and that makes all the difference. For a long time, the game was underrated, but those who gave it a shot found a world with soul, memorable characters, and a journey that hits hard. It's not just a zombie game, it's a game about not giving up, even when everything around you says it's already over. Kingdom Come: Deliverance opens with a promise of pure realism, dropping you into a medieval world with no magic, no fantasy, just blood, politics, and survival. The story starts with revenge, but grows into something much larger: social conflict, regional war, and the brutal reality of the Middle Ages. You're not special, you have no powers, and that changes everything. Every small win feels huge, because everything is slow, heavy, and earned. Gameplay demands patience. Combat is technical, based on positioning, angles, and stamina. Progression is slow and tied to real use. Run to improve running, fight to improve fighting. There's no room for rushing. Dialogue opens different paths, and even reading is a rare skill you must learn. It's not a fantasy RPG, it's more like a medieval life sim, and that's what makes it so unique. The world is unbelievably immersive. Rural villages, castles, monasteries, forest paths, all based on real European history, recreated in stunning detail. Nature is alive, days pass slowly, and time changes how people behave. Eating, sleeping, caring for clothes, it's all part of the routine. Every place serves a purpose, with real function and meaning. It's not a game that tries to please instantly, but if you accept its rules, you'll discover one of the deepest, most authentic adventures in recent memory. An RPG that doesn't shine with magic, but with the weight of reality and the impact of your survival choices. The Technomancer starts on Mars, but it feels like a doomed world, not just by nature, but by its people. Society's broken into military corporations, rejected mutants, and desperate survivors. The story is full of secrets, betrayal, and holding on to ideals amid endless political conflict. The plot is deeper than it seems, slowly peeling back the sci-fi layers to reveal something more human beneath. Gameplay mixes real-time action with flexible skill trees. You can switch between 3 fighting styles, use electric powers, and build your own weapons. Battles are fast but demand strategy, especially on higher difficulties. Choices shape the story, and even side quests can affect what happens later. It's not just button mashing, it's about thinking, choosing, and dealing with the fallout. The world is red, oppressive, full of underground cities, toxic deserts, and makeshift structures reflecting survival through desperation. There's beauty in the decay. Locations feel like they were built atop older ruins. The design leans into contrast advanced tech surrounded by scarcity. Mars is dangerous, and the world constantly reminds you no one is truly safe, not even the powerful. It's a game many skipped, but it hides a solid story and unforgettable sci-fi atmosphere. It might not match other games in polish, but it has soul, and if you give it a chance, you'll see Mars still has a lot to say. Generation Zero starts in silence. You return home, but everything's abandoned, no answers, just ruins of a once normal life and machines patrolling forests, towns, and roads. The story unfolds slowly through documents, recordings, and environmental details, but the lack of immediate answers builds tension right from the start. That hunted feeling never leaves, even in quiet moments. The mystery just keeps growing. Gameplay blends survival, stealth, and tactical combat in an open world. You can go solo or play in co-op. Each style changes the experience. Enemies are robots, each with unique behaviors, weaknesses, and threat levels. Traps, smart use of terrain, and careful resource management are essential. It's not about spraying bullets, it's about planning. The game rewards those who observe and think before acting. The visual style captures an eerie 1980s Sweden transformed, empty homes, bikes on the ground, radios playing static. The art direction builds a real sense of abandonment. Cold landscapes, endless fog, roads that seem to go nowhere. The contrast between nature and machine is striking, and even in peace, the sound of metal footsteps in the brush keeps you on edge. Generation Zero doesn't shout, it whispers. It keeps you wary, alert, curious. It's a game about making do, exploring a world that lost its humanity, and trying to understand why. Maneater begins with an absurd yet irresistible premise: you're a shark out for revenge. And yes, it works way better than you'd think. The story is told like a trashy TV documentary, adding sarcasm and humor to the carnage. But under the laughs, there's constant critique about human impact on the oceans. As you progress, you evolve from a local threat to a full-on aquatic nightmare. It's simple, sharp, and incredibly addictive. Gameplay is controlled chaos. You swim through rivers, bays, and cities, attacking anything that moves. You start small but grow into a mutated beast with wild powers. There are fights with humans, bigger predators, and even armed hunters. You collect resources, evolve body parts, and choose how to grow faster, stronger, or tougher. The world is split into distinct regions, each with unique wildlife, enemies, and challenges. Polluted zones, tourist beaches, industrial bases, each has its own grotesque charm. The visuals are more colorful than grim, keeping things fun even with all the blood and destruction. There are collectibles, secrets, and side missions everywhere. And swimming through it all stays fun, even after hours. It's a game that doesn't take itself seriously but nails what it sets out to do. Maneater delivers a wild, creative, personality-filled open world, and if you're up for the ride, you'll find one of the most absurdly fun adventures in years. State of Decay 2 begins with the old question: what would you do to survive the apocalypse? But the answer doesn't come from frantic action. Everything here revolves around management, tough decisions, and group dynamics. The story isn't linear. You write it by building a community amid chaos. The real threat isn't the zombies, it's hunger, fear, and the pressure of keeping everyone alive. And when someone dies, it's permanent. That changes everything. Gameplay blends exploration, combat, and resource management. You must scavenge supplies, recruit survivors, upgrade your base, and make choices that affect the group. Each character has their own skills, fears, and inner conflicts. Missions spawn dynamically, and the world reacts to your leadership. Fighting is important, but knowing when to avoid conflict matters even more. The game doesn't forgive recklessness. The map is wide, filled with small towns, rural zones, forests, and abandoned sites. Weather changes, time passes, and the sense of a world on the brink never fades. Buildings are detailed, telling stories through scattered objects and notes. The soundtrack is subtle, but it builds tension in all the right moments, and often, the silence says more than any music could. State of Decay 2 is less about action and more about responsibility. It's a game where death has meaning, where bad calls cost lives, and where survival is only the beginning. It's not perfect, but it has soul. And once you care about your group, every choice becomes personal. Dying Light starts with a parachute drop into a city overrun by the infected. But the real impact isn't on the ground, it's in how the game makes you move. The story centers around a city left behind by those meant to help. The virus is out of control, and those left behind fight for supplies, safety, and hope. Over time, you realize the true danger isn't always the monsters. Humans, as always, are still the worst threat. Gameplay is fluid and intense. Parkour is the game's heart, letting you scale buildings, run rooftops, and escape chaos in style. Weapons are improvised, combat is close quarters, and the tension rises with the sunset. Because at night, the enemies change, and so does the game. Survival turns into desperation. Running becomes instinct. Few games use the day-night cycle this well. The map is big, vertical, and packed with possibilities. The city feels alive, even full of death. There are commercial zones, slums, industrial areas, and ruined towers. Everything can be climbed, explored, scavenged. Every corner hides something. Side quests feel natural, and random encounters make each outing a new story. The world looks dirty, decayed, but it sticks with you. Dying Light never lets you rest, never lets you feel safe, and that's what makes it special. It understands tension, and uses every second to remind you that survival means fighting and knowing when to run. Submerged Hidden Depths begins with calm waters and overgrown ruins. A world drowned by time, with no enemies and no rush, only silence, solitude, and the will to rebuild. The story is told through images, gestures, and symbols. There are no battles, no lengthy dialogue, no urgency. Just a quiet call to explore, heal, and understand what led to this broken world. It's a game that invites you to reflect, not to rush. Gameplay is simple and matches the tone. You sail between sunken islands, climb abandoned structures, and activate ancient mechanisms. Each new area offers light platforming, focused on discovery. The mechanics don't evolve much, but the pace stays steady. The goal is to spread life, purifying what's been corrupted. It turns the journey into something emotional more than technical. The world is an aquatic painting in motion. Soft colors, ever-present seas, and nature-swallowing ruins. Beauty lies in every broken piece, every blooming flower, every reflection in the water. The soundtrack is delicate, often letting wind, waves, and birds take over. Even without words, the game manages to move you. It's a peaceful journey, not meant to challenge, but to touch. A breather among so many violent, apocalyptic worlds. Submerged Hidden Depth doesn't try to be epic, it chooses serenity. And that's why it's unforgettable. A reminder that there's value in simply observing, healing, and moving forward. Windbound begins with a shipwreck and a promise of survival across a mysterious archipelago. Alone, without weapons, without food, you're forced to learn quickly. The story is told by the islands themselves, through ancient altars and forgotten ruins. The world watches silently, never offering easy answers. The journey becomes cyclical sail, explore, understand, repeat, and over time, it reveals more than just survival. Gameplay blends exploration, crafting, and light combat. Sailing is the game's biggest triumph. Building your own boat and mastering the ocean is essential. Islands change each chapter, forcing adaptation. Gathering resources, cooking food, upgrading your boat, it all matters. Combat is straightforward, but avoiding danger is often the smarter path. The visuals are stylized with warm colors, clear skies, and shimmering seas. Each island has its own biome, weather, plants, and creatures. There's mystery in everything, from rock formations to ancient symbols. Without big cutscenes, the game still delivers atmosphere, and the music, soft and organic, reinforces a meditative tone. Windbound is about adapting, failing, and learning. It gives you little and expects a lot. But once you learn to read the wind, trust the current, and find your rhythm, the game becomes a hidden gem in the ocean of open worlds. Sable begins in the desert, as you set out on a journey without knowing exactly what you're searching for. A rite of passage demands that you explore, meet others, face your doubts, and discover your identity. The story is light, yet rich with symbolism. There's no rush, no combat, just the unknown and the certainty that you must move forward. The game doesn't guide, it suggests, and that makes all the difference. Gameplay focuses on traversal, climbing, and interaction. Your bike glides over dunes, and your movement feels natural even without fights. You gather parts, solve light puzzles, and complete tasks for different clans. Every mission is a dialogue, a trade, a choice. The masks you collect define who you want to be. And the best part? There's no right answer, only possibilities. The visual style is truly unique, like a living graphic novel with bold lines, flat colors, and animations that feel hand-drawn. The desert, ruins, nomadic markets, everything has personality. It dares to be different, and it works. The art direction doesn't chase realism, it aims for poetry, and it delivers. The music is soft and introspective, scoring moments of quiet discovery. Sable is a game about getting lost to find yourself, about embracing silence as part of the path. It doesn't shout for attention, it invites. And if you accept the invitation, you may discover one of the calmest, most beautiful open worlds ever made. Ashen begins in a dark, cold, broken world where light is a distant promise. It's about rebuilding not just land, but purpose. You awaken in emptiness and walk toward the unknown, guided by a nearly extinguished hope. The story is minimal, told through encounters, symbols, and quiet events, but its impact is deep. You're not trying to conquer, you're trying to belong. Gameplay focuses on challenging combat, stamina, dodging, and rhythm. There's no rush, every strike must be measured, every enemy respected. You explore dungeons, fight massive beasts, and slowly build a village. Your companion, AI, or co-op player is always beside you, never breaking immersion. That quiet cooperation lifts the weight of loneliness. The visuals embrace elegant minimalism, simple shapes, soft colors, no hyper-realistic textures. It's a style all its own. The world is desolate but beautiful. Ruined towns, dark forests, empty plains, all echo forgotten stories. Light becomes a storytelling tool, underscoring the theme of rebirth. It's a world that speaks through imagery, not noise. Ashen is about starting over, about finding beauty when all seems lost. It doesn't overwhelm with icons or tutorials, it just lets you walk, and through that you realize that sometimes just continuing is the greatest victory. Enshrouded begins in a world shrouded in deadly mist, where what's left of civilization fights not to vanish completely. The land has been taken over by a dark force, leaving behind ruins, secrets, and a people torn between survival and reclaiming what was lost. The story unfolds through exploration, scattered fragments, and a constant search for the truth behind the fall. There's mystery but also urgency. It's a world that wants to kill you and captivate you at the same time. Gameplay mixes real-time combat, building, and character progression. You gather resources, build your base, upgrade weapons, and face creatures hiding in the fog. Combat is agile, with dodges, spells, and well-timed combos. The class system is flexible, letting you change your playstyle as you advance. Freedom is key, but every step into the shadows could be your last. The visuals pop with strong contrasts. The mist devouring everything clashes with open areas full of color and life. Floating ruins, twisted towers, and silent forests. Every environment has something to say. The atmosphere balances adventure and constant tension. That feeling of discovery never fades, especially when you step out of safety and into the unknown. And what's hidden rarely disappoints. It's one of those games that blends genres without losing focus. Action, RPG, crafting, and survival combine to create something engaging and promising. Enshrouded wants you to fight, build, explore, but above all, it wants you to feel like you're reclaiming something that was once yours. Atlas Fallen begins with sand, sun, and the ruins of a once great civilization. Now only dust and forgotten gods remain. The story centers around resisting these powerful forces, as you awaken an ancient power buried deep beneath the desert. It blends mythology, rebellion, and restoration with a constant sense of mystery. It's a fantasy world, yes, but one with weight, history, and scars. The gameplay is all about speed and impact. Combat is fast, turning battles into dazzling storms of sand and energy. You glide across dunes, leap impossible distances, and face colossal monsters. There's customization, aerial combos, magic, and shape-shifting weapons. The pace never slows, pushing you forward with smooth, aggressive momentum. It's all about movement and mastering the battlefield. The world impresses with golden deserts, cities buried in sand, and monuments shattered by time. The art direction leans into grandeur. Everything feels larger than life. There are quiet moments between fights, and they make the journey feel even more powerful. The feeling of being in a broken world, still full of energy and purpose, never goes away. Even in ruin, beauty remains. Atlas Fallen doesn't want you to simply explore, it wants you to conquer. Every step, every jump, every battle seems to say the sand has swallowed many, but there's still room to rewrite fate. Far Cry Primal begins in a time when the world was ruled by tribes, wild beasts, and danger in every tree. No guns, no cars, no tech, just you, a spear, and the will to survive. The story follows the rise of a hunter in a brutal land where fire is power and speech is still new. It may feel primitive, but it's far from simple. This is a tale of conquest, instinct, and claiming the land, told through scars and screams. Gameplay transforms the franchise's formula into something fresh. No machine guns, you craft spears, bows, and traps. No helicopters, you tame beasts. Hunting, gathering, and building your base are essential. Creature AI makes every encounter tense, and melee combat demands nerve. You're always the hunter and the hunted. It's all about who strikes first. The map is wild, vast, and unpredictable. Dense forests, deep caves, and lively yet deadly valleys. The world relies on raw realism, earthy tones, natural light, dynamic weather, animal calls, rustling leaves, and pitch-black nights build immersion. Even without cities, roads, or tech, the world is rich with discovery. Every corner holds stories carved in bone and blood. Far Cry Primal proves you don't need futuristic weapons to feel danger. It's about surviving in a world that tests you constantly, and once you conquer it, you realize the tools may change, but the instinct never does. Watch Dogs begins with an invasion not of buildings or cities, but of people's lives, a world where everything is connected, and that connection becomes a weapon. The story explores surveillance, secrets, and the grip of information. But more than that, it shows how technology, when misused, becomes an invisible threat. The narrative mixes revenge, paranoia, and urban resistance at a strong pace. Even with some over-the-top moments, it pulls you in. Gameplay revolves around real-time hacking. With a tap, you hijack cameras, explode transformers, change traffic lights, or stop chases. Gunfights exist, but the fun is in winning without pulling the trigger. Driving through the city, breaking into systems, and crafting creative solutions are the core. Side missions expand the story, and most challenges have multiple solutions. It's all about freedom of approach. The open world recreates a dark Chicago full of alleys, industrial zones, rich districts, and neglected areas. The contrast between glossy skyscrapers and grimy streets supports the game's social critique. The city feels alive, reacting to your actions. Small touches, phone calls, pedestrian routines add realism. The setting is modern, but edges into dystopia. Watch Dogs may not have been fully appreciated at launch, but today, with even more connected lives, it feels prophetic. A world where invasion is silent and power lies in data, a game that feels more relevant than ever. Gravity Rush 2 starts with lightness, floating through buildings, dancing between gravities, exploring a hand-painted sky. But soon, it reveals layers beneath the surface. The story blends discovery, social oppression, and internal struggles with a surreal tone. There's magic, politics, and twists, told with charm and melancholy. It starts small and grows surprisingly heavy. The gameplay is one of a kind. You control gravity, turning movement into something fluid and expressive. Climbing a tower or crossing a canyon becomes second nature. Combat is aerial, with kicks, special combos, and alternate styles that shift weight and speed. The map is huge and vertical, full of secrets and vibrant characters. You don't walk, you fly, glide, fall with purpose. The visuals are stunning. Floating cities, cloud islands, colorful markets, villages hidden in the sky. The art recalls European comics, with soft colors and bold lines. The camera moves boldly, tracking your aerial stunts with grace. Each location impresses, and even the quiet spots hold beauty and soul. The design feels deeply personal, and it shows in every corner. Gravity Rush 2 may seem light, but it leaves a mark. A world where falling isn't failing, it's progress. And that freedom is what makes it a gem that should never have been overlooked. Just Cause 3 begins with a bang, literally. The game doesn't explain much, it just drops you into an island chain at war and lets you loose with a grappling hook, parachute, and an uncontrollable urge to wreak havoc. There's a story about fighting a dictator, sure, but it's just background. The real point is chaos. Every mission becomes a destructive playground. The question isn't, can I do this? It's how big will the explosion be? Gameplay is pure adrenaline. You hijack helicopters mid-air, tether objects together, surf cars, fly in a wingsuit, and blow things up with surgical precision. There's no wrong way to play, only wilder ways. Weapons are varied, vehicles are insane, and the game rewards creativity. Main missions, side quests, and challenges are everywhere. There's always something new to destroy. The map is a Mediterranean paradise full of villages, mountains, military bases, and open fields. Natural beauty contrasts with the destruction you cause. The exaggerated physics turn every piece of the map into a weapon. The sky matters as much as the ground. Vertical movement is constant, and even after hours, the world remains a blast to explore. Just Cause 3 isn't about subtlety, it's about freedom. A game that knows rules are made to be broken in the loudest, wildest ways possible, and in that, few can compete. Mafia Definitive Edition starts with a taxi ride and ends in a spiral of choices that change everything. It's a masterful retelling of the 2002 classic, focused entirely on the rise and fall within the Mafia. Each chapter plays like a noir film, filled with sharp dialogue, twists, and unforgettable moments. The pacing is spot on, and the tone is serious, stylish, and heavy. No open-world distractions, just a gripping story from start to finish. Gameplay has been fully revamped. Gunplay feels sharper, driving is more realistic, and melee fights flow better. It's not about fast action, it's about building tension. Every mission counts, and between cutscenes, you drive through a city that feels alive, but never pulls focus from the narrative. Everything is crafted to keep you in the story, and it works beautifully. The visuals are a showpiece. The city is recreated with stunning detail from the 1930s. Vintage cars, glowing signs, shadowy alleys, and luxurious mansions create a rich, stylized setting. The music matches perfectly, heightening each moment. Even the dynamic weather serves the plot. Storms and fog add to the drama. Every scene looks like it came from a classic film. Mafia doesn't try to be a modern open-world game. It chooses to be something rarer, a linear cinematic story where every detail matters, and the result is simply unforgettable. Rage 2 begins with chaos. No lengthy intros, no slow build-up, just you, a Technicolor apocalypse, and enemies ready to explode. The story is straightforward, a tyrannical government trying to control an already broken world. But the plot is just a backdrop for something more important, action. The game knows its strength is unfiltered fun, and it delivers. If it's standing, it can be knocked down. If it's hostile, it can be blown to pieces. The gameplay is insane. Guns feel powerful, abilities shake the battlefield, and vehicles are armed to the teeth. Combat combines precision with speed, and everything responds with satisfying feedback. Weapons are vicious, enemies diverse, and the momentum never stops. Each fight unlocks new abilities, changing how you approach the next challenge. It's like the game dares you. Go ahead, break everything. The open world bursts with color, rare for a post-apocalypse. There are deserts, swamps, industrial zones, and gang-run towns. The visuals juggle neon and grime with style. Enemy bases, races, arenas, and side missions constantly pop up. There's always something exploding. And if it isn't, it will be once you get there. Rage 2 is pure escapism. It doesn't aim to be deep, just ridiculously fun. And when it embraces that goal, it delivers one of the most satisfying combat systems in recent memory. Sleeping Dogs begins with an undercover investigation, but what truly pulls you in is the city itself, a vibrant, gritty, and fascinating take on Hong Kong, full of alleys, markets, skyscrapers, and gangs. The story is packed with tension, diving into themes of loyalty, identity, and sacrifice. You don't know who to trust, and that keeps you hooked. It's more than a crime plot. It's a descent into a world where every choice has consequences. Gameplay blends hand-to-hand combat, gunfights, and driving with polish. The melee system feels like a fighting game. Counters, dodges, brutal takedowns, driving narrow streets, racing illegally, or escaping cops stays thrilling. Add side quests, collectibles, and activities, and the world feels alive. It's easy to learn and rewarding to master. The map may be compact, but it's packed with life. Each district has its own flavor, from bright signs to spiritual shrines. Night markets, temples, glowing billboards, everything contributes to the atmosphere. The city breathes. Even outside missions, just walking its streets is immersive. And the use of local culture, food, beliefs, traditions adds authenticity. It's not just pretty, it feels real. Sleeping Dogs was underrated at launch, but it aged like wine. It balances action, story, and setting better than most, and if you give it a shot, you'll find a hidden gem among giants. The Saboteur begins in black and white, literally. Nazi occupation has drained the world of color, but as you sabotage, rescue, and reclaim, hues return. It's a powerful metaphor, and it works. The story weaves revenge, espionage, and small rebellions that grow. It's not about winning the war, it's about remembering that fighting still matters, even when hope seems gone. Gameplay mixes stealth, gunplay, and climbing in an open world. Climb rooftops, blow up sites, outsmart patrols, all based on your strategy. Missions allow freedom, and the map is yours to explore. Be stealthy or go loud, hide or cause panic. The game rewards boldness, and the more you fight back, the more alive the city becomes. The visual design is one of the smartest of its generation. Occupied zones are black and white, and color returns when you liberate them. It's an immediate emotional reward. Paris is charming yet scarred, with famous landmarks amid war zones. Music and sound design strengthen the feeling of resistance. It's stylized, dramatic, and captivating throughout. The Saboteur is a love letter to rebellion. A game that doesn't just entertain, it makes every small victory feel meaningful. Flawed, yes, but its vision is unforgettable. If you enjoyed the list, drop a like to support the channel and subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Now tell me, which of these games have you played or want to try? I'm watching the comments, and if you love wild open worlds, check out our exclusive gameplay of the new Ghost of Yotei. It's unreal. Click now and prepare to be blown away. Big hug, happy gaming, and see you tomorrow!